Welcome back to my channel, Star Booze.
Lee Remick's life was as fascinating as her performances on screen are known for her. Roles in renowned films such as The Omen, Anatomy of a Murder. Lee was more just a talented actor. She was a force. In Hollywood, it wasn't just her, a career that left people talking. The scenes from Lee's personal life, her relationships, are also very interesting. With her husband, Kip Gowans, and her children, and the tragic. The circumstances surrounding her premature death. How did a lady with so much promise face horrible ending? And how did she manage to build a significant net worth notwithstanding? She has challenges. Please join us as we unravel the Lee's story is interesting and tragic. Remick's career, family, and she left a legacy. You won't want to miss this. Lee Remick was born on December 14th. Born in 1935 in Quincy, Massachusetts. Family having extensive roots in the neighborhood. Her father, Francis Edwin Remick, known as Frank, owned and operated Remick's department stores are among the largest and the most well-known firms in Quincy include. His father had created the store. Alfred passed down to Frank after Alfred's death. Despite her rising prominence, Lee would frequently return to the store. Reconnect with customers and staff. Revealing a side of her that stayed Lee is rooted in her family's legacy. Mother Gertrude Margaret Waldo, who went Patricia, or Pat, was a theater actress. Self and dreamed of a similar path. Lee had an older daughter. Brother Bruce Waldo Remick was born in May 6, 1933, who was 2.5 years old. Lee was only 7 years older than her. Her parents divorced her father when she was a child. Frank remained in Quincy to continue, managing the department store while Patsy moved to New York City with her children. In New York, Pat enrolled Lee and Miss Whit's as a prominent school for girls. The Upper East Side is where Lee's future lies. In the performing arts, began to take at the age of 16, Lee replied an ad seeking dancers for summer stock. She lied about her age to get the job. Over the course of 10 weeks, she performed 10 various shows. Her big break came when she had the opportunity to read for a part in the Broadway show Be Your Age, in which she played a caustic teen. The play only ran in a short period of time. Lee had professional agent, and place her on the Lee's route to stardom over the next 5 years. Remick worked extensively auditioning, landed multiple roles on live television. She appeared in a variety of important shows. This includes the Armstrong Circle Theater, at Playhouse 90 Studios 1, and Robert Montgomery Presents was a performance. In May 1956, on Robert Montgomery Presents, that grabbed the eye of director Elia Kazan was casting for his film A Face in the Crowd, featuring Andy Griffith, Patricia O'Neill, and Tony Franciosa. He was looking for someone to represent a seductive baton twirler and Southern high school girl. The only problem was Lee having never worked in film before. She was from the North and had no experience in baton twirling, or the Southern accent required for the role. Despite the hurdles, Lee was determined to land the part for a few months. Before filming began, she went to Piggott, Arkansas. The little Southern, the film's town setting, previously existed. After was chosen, she remained with the Mr. Robinson's family attended the same school. Superintendent, his wife is a teacher, and their 15-year-old daughter, Amanda, was while she was the school's drum major at Lee, and Amanda spent a significant amount of time, along with Lee, practicing the baton twirling and understanding the intricacies of Southern speech and behavior. Experience became one of the foundations. Lee's approach to her craft. Throughout her career, she was known fully immersing herself in roles, frequently spent months analyzing her characters and their backgrounds before stepping. In the part, Lee Remick wasn't the only one. It was a new face in the crowd. Andy Griffith's first picture, Griffith later pondered on his role in the film was dark and intense, and a promise never to take on such a role again. True to his word, he didn't at first. The film was not highly reviewed, but it was over. Eventually, it would earn attention and soon be called a classic. However, Lee saw the film as a turning point immediately after A Face in the Throng. She was offered a 7-year, one-picture contract, year contract with 20th Century Fox, a significant boost to her career in the same. The year that A Face in the Crowd was released, Lee married producer Bill Colleran on August 3, 1957. The two had met in August 1956. They dated for a year before tying the prior to her second picture. The long, hot summer Lee relocated to Los Angeles. In the film, she appears alongside her husband, depicted the sultry wife of Jody. Tony Franciosa played Varner. Once again, she used her Southern accent, perfected for A Face in the Crowd. The role gave her the opportunity to work alongside Hollywood heavyweights like Orson Welles, Paul Newman, and Joanne Woodward. After wrapping The Long Hot Summer, despite being pregnant with her first kid, Lee received a script by director Otto Preminger for a film, Anatomy of a Murder. Before she could even finish reading it, he contacted her back and said he had cast Lana Turner for the position she was originally. Lee surprised him by turning down the offer, down a second main role, proving her confident and determined to select appropriate projects for herself. Lee was 23 years old on January 1, 1959. Remick welcomed her daughter, Catherine. Into the Lee entered the world shortly after Kate was born. Otto received an unexpected phone call. Premiere dismissed Lana Turner from Anatomy of a Murder over a wardrobe disagreement. Turner had insisted on wearing designer clothes, despite the script called for off-the-rack clothing. Premiere still wanted Lee for the position. Initially, Lee felt the call was a joke hung up, but the caller promptly phoned. Lee returned to reassure her that it was true. "I was offered the part of a wife." Ben Gazzara portrays a serviceman who the character murdered a man who had raped his wife. The film was full of drama. Premier's reputation as the tough director did not help matters. Lee has recently given birth and was breastfeeding, she stated to Premiere. Fear something distressing might spoil her breast milk. Whether it actually had that effect, it definitely kept him, causing her too much difficulty on set. During the movie's production, Lee developed a great friendship with co-star James Stewart, who she later claimed handed her the best acting instruction she'd ever had received from another actor. Her job landed her a Golden Globe nomination. Following Anatomy of a Murder, Lee featured opposite Don Murray, Richard Egan in These Thousand Hills. Then, in 1960, she joined Montgomery Clift and Joe Van Fleet in Wild River, directed by her. This marked longtime friend Elia Kazan. This is her first cooperation with Kazan since A Face in the Crowd. Kazan would later consider Wild River his best directing effort. The picture was set in the 1930s. Tennessee, during the Tennessee Valley Authority, or TVA, was relocating families to build a dam. Kazan had to make Montgomery Clift doors. I agreed not to drink while production, with the cooperation of Lee. And Joe Van Fleet Clift managed to keep Lee recalled him as a tiny wounded bird, and she believed that support was critical in helping him get. During the filming, Tennessee Lee Remick received bad news for her husband, Bill. Colleran had been in a serious vehicle accident. Bill was barely hanging on, working relentlessly, day and night on Frank Sinatra's TV special is concerned with Lee and her husband's well-being. Her mother, Pat, immediately flew from Tennessee to Los Angeles. They checked, entered the Beverly Hills Hotel, and stayed. I was there for a week. unsure of what future held, but need to be near Bill. Lee proceeded to pay the motel bill. She was startled to learn that Frank Sinatra, whom she barely knew at the time, had already paid for them, and it was an unexpected gesture that really affected her. Touched on June 7th. In 1961, Lee and Bill welcomed their second child, Matthew Remick, Karen, the following. Lee gave birth in 1962. Most noteworthy performances in Days of Wine and Roses with Jack Lemmon. This film dives into the dark and the difficult realities of alcoholism. Earned Lee received an Academy Award nomination, solidifying her status as one of Hollywood's most adaptable and gifted in 1963. Lee featured in the film She worked on the film Wheeler Dealers with James Garner and Phil Harris the following year, 1964. She joined the cast of a short-lived Broadway musical, Anybody Can Whistle, alongside Angela Lansbury, despite his discomfort. With her role, the show concluded after just a few performances representing a brief but a memorable chapter in Lee's career in 1965. Lee Remick collaborated with the famous Steve McQueen in Baby the Rain Must Fall during the time Lee was earning $400,000 per film. Yet, the quality of the films she was making began to decline. Films such as Hallelujah. Trail with Burt Lancaster and Jim Hutton was far from the standout roles. Lee was habituated. In 1966, Lee had the opportunity to shine on Broadway with her part in Wait Until Dark is Significant. He made his Broadway debut with no co-star. Other than Robert Duvall, Lee stated she accepted the assignment since it enabled her she'd be balancing her profession and family. At the theater by 8 p.m. and returned home. Lee spent a month preparing by 11:30. The Lighthouse Foundation for the Blind immersed herself in her character. The play opened in February 2nd, 1966, and ran for 374 performances. By the end of the run, Lee had grown so she is familiar with her character, could memorize her lines while simultaneously thinking about the tasks. Lee jokingly joked about what she had to do at home. I am a homemaker who happens to be. However, the housewife turned, the actress went on to win a Tony Award Finest Actress because she's stunning performance in 1969 while working in Europe makes hard contact with James. Coburn Lee met the assistant director. William Kip Gowans' romance flourished, and Lee soon filed for divorced from her husband of 11 years. Bill Colleran upon their separation. Bill continued his excellent career, producing and directing significant television programs but never remarried. Bill Colleran passed dead on June 15, 2000 after a stroke, while residing in the Motion Picture and Television Fund Hospital in Woodland Hills, California, at the age of 77. On December 18, 1970, Lee Remick married Kip Gowans after he completed his divorce from his 30-year-old British actress. Wife, Valerie Guerin Lee, was named ASCO respondent in divorce proceedings. After their wedding, Lee and Kip moved to England, where Lee continued her acting career while living abroad. She starred in The Blue Night 1973, with William Holden winning another Emmy nomination for her. Lee's performance in 1974 earned him several awards, accolades for her depiction as Jenny in Lady Randolph Churchill. In 1976 starred in the legendary The Omen alongside Gregory Peck. By 1979, she had taken on role in the television film Ike, the Warriors. With Robert Duvall, eventually Lee and Kip moved back to California to be closer to movie scripts. They bought a property in Osterville, Massachusetts, where they would spend the following 12 years. They frequently split their time between there and California. Lee has always considered Osterville on Cape Cod is her real home. Through the 1980s, Lee teamed Kip and I worked together on various TV movies, including Women's Room and Rearview Mirror, when asked for guidance on how to become a Hollywood. Actor Lee once observed, "You cannot plan or blueprint out a career that just happened." To be in the right place at the right, Lee's father, Frank Remick, passed. Died in 1983 at the age of 73. In 1988, Lee Remick collaborated with fellow actors. James Garner and television producer Peter Duchow will launch a production firm, simply A Year. Later, in May 1989, Lee completed what would be her last film, career Dark Holiday, which was shot in England shortly after completing the film. She received a dreadful diagnosis: deadly cancer, as she began her fight. Against the sickness, Lee underwent a variety of therapies, including experimental medications, chemotherapy, and the removal of A. During this terrible period, she confessed with her close friend British. Jill Ireland, an actress, was Charles's wife. Jill is battling cancer. Bronson has been diagnosed with breast cancer. The two women worked together to raise funds for cancer research. Tragically, Jill went away from breast. Lee was diagnosed with cancer in May 1990. Went into remission for a brief. She returned to the stage in a local Los Angeles production of A Little Night's Music. In 1991, she received devastating news. Her cancer had returned despite on April 29, 1991. She was presented with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame at 6104 Hollywood BLVD. With her great buddy Jack Lemmon by her side, Lee had always considered Jack hers. At the time, Lee was my favorite actor. Her health has severely decreased, was frail, and her face had enlarged because to the therapies only 2 months later. She died from renal and liver cancer on July 2, 1991 at 5:15 p.m., her home in Brentwood, California. Surrounded by her family, she was 55 years old. Lee's funeral was attended by many Hollywood celebrities, and her eulogy was presented by Jack Lemmon and Gregory Peak. Her children, Kate and Matt, honored her, singing the title tune from her Broadway musical, Anyone Can Whistle. Lee was cremated in accordance with her wishes. Remains were handed to her, following her passing, her beloved. The home in Osterville, Massachusetts, was divided between her husband, Kip, 2 children, Kate and Matt. The deal included a provision that Kip might continue to live there for as long as he wished or until he moved Kip. I lived there for several years after. Lee died, but eventually returned to England to live with his daughter. Health began to decline following her death. Several fans and colleagues wrote tributes, commenting on how incredible Remick was. Actress Jack Lemmon stated that she worked with Remick remained one of the most cheerful experiences, characterizing the deceased as precious and the essence of grace. Another colleague, James Stewart, revealed Remick was a wonderful person, friend, and contributed as an actress. Other cinematic actors, including Charles Bronson, Angela Lansbury, and Gregory Peak, also mentioned nice things within her stars. Cape Estate is worth $80. $8 million when Lee Remick, the beloved, in 1991, a movie actress, died. She left behind her breathtaking seaside estate in Osterville, Massachusetts, overlooking. The property was transferred to North Bay, her 2 children and her husband of 21. William Kip Gowans has had a television for years. Kip is a producer 17 years after her death. Gowans is now attempting to sell the estate that has appreciated considerable increase in the value of the residence. Millions are now the subject of a court dispute between 2 adult children who are attempting to determine the price of the property, and its contents are 3. Heirs stand to divide the income from the selling of the 1934 colonial-style home. This features a deep-water dock and some of the greatest vistas Cape Cod has to offer. The property is one of just 2 residences. On Pine Island is connected with the mainland by a bridge and causeway. Realtor Jack Large describes, "The views from the mansion are among the best on Cape Cod with 360-degree vistas between Osterville Harbor and Nantucket. Although there has been interest thus far, no sale, Lee Remick was no stranger to the Cape. She spent her youth in Quincy. Her family ran Remix's department store, and her first acting assignment was when she was at the Cape Playhouse in Dennis. She was only 16 when she made the transaction. She was at the Osterville estate in 1979. Already a Hollywood celebrity, known for heralds in films like Days of Wine, Roses with Jack Lemmon, The Omen with Gregory Peak Lee, and her family spent 12 memorable times in Osterville prior. Her premature death at age 55 years since her passing, the value of estate has soared from $2 million from 1995 to its current market price of $80. $8 million, the property's worth continued. Kip Gowans resided there until I moved overseas a few years ago to live with his daughter. This caused current efforts to sell the house, which previously listed for $9.9 million, year now with the property's future. It is questionable whether the estate is involved in legal fight with Remick's children, looking to nominate a new trustee to manage the estate in spite of this. Osterville House is still a location often memories. Kate Manelian Remick's daughter recently revealed that she spent numerous summers and winters there, and the house will always hold a Lee Remick has a particular place in her heart. Renowned actress whose career spans over 3 decades left behind a legacy, not only because of her amazing body of work in film, television, and theater, but through her charity initiatives. Lee died in 1991. Remick's net worth was calculated at around $10 million, is a significant sum. An actress of her time, her wealth was mostly acquired through her performing. During her best years, Rake earned an impressive pay for her efforts in both. For example, in cinema and television. In the mid-1960s, her compensation for a movie role was around. The figure of $400,000 was explored, significant for an actress at the time. This earning power was enhanced by her ventures into theater, most notably her Tony-winning performance in Wait Until Dark. She earned both critical praise and financial success. Aside from her acting remuneration, Lee also founded a producing firm with James Garner and Peter Duchow that further contributed to her riches when she died. Her spouse inherited her estate. Kip Gowans and his 2 children, Kate Matt and his family, made plans to divide her assets, including her adored home in Osterville, Massachusetts. The home was especially important to Lee, regarded it her true home. It became a haven of peace for her. Family following her passing, in addition to her financial remake, was recognized for her success. Charity work. Especially throughout her career, she has focused on cancer research. Struggle with cancer, she worked alongside her close friend, actress Jill Ireland, raised money for cancer research. Women were both diagnosed with cancer. Coordinated fundraising activities to support. Unfortunately, Jill died as a result of this. Lee died of breast cancer in 1990. The loyalty to the cause did not waver. She continues to raise awareness. Funds for cancer research with particular emphasis on experimental treatments. Remick's contributions to these causes have a lasting impact, as she helped draw attention to the significance of funding for cancer treatment and research using Lee's net worth at the time of her death was significant. Her biggest legacy rests in she used her success to help others. Important causes for her family and unfortunately, the global entertainment industry. It's difficult to accept that we lost her way too early. Imagine where her career may have gone. Took her if she hadn't died. With such a young age, who knows? If she continues to make successful films today, we're with us. But that's enough for me. Your turn. Which of Lee Remick's films do you consider your favorite? We'd love to. Please share your ideas in the comments below, and before you leave, don't forget to show us some love by like this video. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Make sure you tap the bell. Click the icon to enable alerts.